Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dear Me Challenge. We are on day 5. And if you were here with me on day 1 and you are back today, thank you so much. I'm so happy that you decided to join me here again. During the month of October, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I am here to help you on this Dear Me journey. And consistency is one of the things that we are working on for the month of October. And one of the things I want to make sure, if you see me keep looking, is to make sure I am not on mute. That has been one of the issues during this challenge, but I hit the button today. All right. So thank you again for being here. If this is your first time, I want to thank you so much for choosing to spend just a few minutes with me on this journey. And I wanted to remind you that this journey is in connection and alignment with my best-selling book, Dear Me, I See You. It's a collaboration of intimate letters from a woman's heart to the little girl within. It's myself as the visionary and 4 additional amazing authors. And what we're doing in this book is we are sharing our journey of no longer running from the things that was silencing us and reminding us of the past, but we decided to take control of those things and address those things. And instead of running away, we address them so that we can transform our lives. So that's what this challenge is about. Dear Me to me is a blueprint of how you can experience life, but make a decision to give yourself permission to no longer allow it to define you. We're talking about an identity shift. It's so important for us to be able to, at any point in our lives, to define where we are and define what we are looking into when we say who we are. So if you haven't purchased your copy of Dear Me, I See You, you can purchase your copy at my website by going here to the link that's running along the banner, or you can go to my website at restoreherworth.com. All right. So, Dear Me to me, as I said, it is a declaration. It's a declaration to yourself, first of all, to see yourself. I believe that the experiences that we've had in life, they can sometimes dim our light and they can stop us from really seeing ourselves. And when you can't see yourself, then you can't step forward as boldly and confidently as you are meant to. So this challenge, each day of the challenge and each week, we are on day 3. I want to come in and share just a quick message with you that I've discovered on my own Dear Me journey that has helped me to be able to transform my life. And one of the things that is helping me to do is to stay consistent in the things that I commit to doing for myself, and knowing that this is purpose work. This is soul work, and it's not for everybody, but for the woman who is ready to really embrace who she is now so that she can be able to see herself going forward, see herself doing the things that she's been called to do those things she didn't think she could do, and to do it boldly. Dear Me is sounding an alarm on the inside of myself and the inside of yourself, to be able to say, yes, I've experienced this. Yes, this is how I define myself, but today I'm wanting to do something different. I'm wanting to really get to know me, to see who I am, because there are things that we need to be able to do in our lives to find fulfillment and contentment for ourselves. Those things that we are meant to do, not only for ourselves, but to be able to help other people. And when you can't really see you because of those life experiences, it's very hard for you to be able to do that. All right. So when you're joining me, go ahead and leave me a message in the comments to say hello to me. Let me know what city you are watching me from. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I won't be here with you long today. But on day 5, we're talking about the seasons have changed. Dust yourself off now. So when this topic came to me today, I started getting a vision of, when my kids used to play when they were little, and they played Little League, and they would be out on the field running in the mud because it had rained and it wasn't lightning. So that meant that they still had to play this game. So when they played on the dirty field, the wet field, they would get mud all over their shoes, all over their clothes. And they kept playing until the game was over. So when when the game was over, the rain had stopped and the sun had come back out, but they still had all of this mud on them. They had it on their shoes and, like I said, on their uniforms, and they had to get in my car. So when they decided to get in my car, I had to put the coverings over the seats so that they wouldn't track in the dirt from what they had just come from. And so when you think about that, think about the experience that you've had. Think about the season in your life that has you've shifted now. You're in a new season because earlier in the challenge we talked about, gathering the things that you've gained during these different transitions of your life and moving to a new location, whether that's physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. You're wanting to carry those things instead of allowing them to silence you and stop you from stepping forward the way you're meant to. So when we're talking about the season has changed, dust yourself off, thinking about those little football players who they started out in the rain, and when they ended the season, now the sun is out, but they're still left with all of this mud and dust on themselves. And in order to get in my car, we have to figure some things out. So where are you in your life? What transition have you come through, you've overcome, or you have moved locations of the priority that those things had in your life? And where is it that you need to dust yourself off in your life? Because when you think about it, thinking about that mud, it will linger on you if you don't shake it off. Those things that you've experienced, and now you're saying, "Dear me, I see you," then you can see the lingering effects of it on your life. You see how it can make you feel dirty in some aspect, where it can make you feel unseen because you're covered up by it. But it is important that as you begin to shift those things in your life, and when you begin to shift, it's important to take an assessment of what's still holding on to you, and what are you still holding on to, and what is still covering you up, and what are you bold enough and courageous enough to give yourself permission to dust it off of you. It's always interesting to me how we think sometimes when we go through things and come through things and experience life. Let's just make it honest. We experience life. We don't think that it really shows up in how we do business or the lack thereof, or how we proceed forward to do those things that we're wanting to do, that we've been called to do. But it affects everything. So when we talk about dusting ourselves off, I want to talk to you about one of the ways that has helped me, and it's one of the pillars in this challenge of the embrace pillar. Because to me, embracing means to take ownership. And I've found, maybe you found this for yourself, that taking ownership of our part in our journey, what has happened in the journey, can be very difficult. But I've also found that when you take ownership of it, when you embrace those things, you can take off the dust of victimhood. How many of you know that victimhood is something that's so easy for us to get into? It's a state of mind of being a victim. We have gone through things. You can't change that. And it has caused you to feel a certain way. It has caused you to see yourself a certain way. But depending on the priority that you give it in your life, it can hold you in place and you become a victim to it. Many times we become a victim to it because, first of all, we don't want to take ownership of it because it hurts. It hurts sometimes to take ownership of what has happened. Sometimes it's a survival method for us to deny those things, ignore those things. We've moved our place in life, we've moved its priority, and in order for us to survive that shift, we have to ignore it sometimes. But how many of you know that as long as you do that, as long as you deny it, as long as you try and ignore it, you'll still be a victim to it? I had to decide many years ago to change. I used to say I'm changing my hood. I changed my hood from victim to overcomer, going one step at a time. So when you think about taking ownership of something, how does that make you feel? The first thing used to be for me that when I thought of taking ownership of something, To me, it was like pulling teeth because that meant that I had to take some responsibility of the choices that I made, the things that I accepted, the things that I ignored, the red flags that I chose to ignore, the things that I didn't do that I knew to do because I gave myself permission to be a victim because of what I experienced. And I know that there are many women, in talking to different women, there are a lot of us that still go through that because in some way we feel like we are empowered if we hold on to it as the victim and say, look at what has happened to me. But when you are ready to really be able to shift the season in your life and move forward with the new season that you're in, you can no longer give yourself permission. You can do it if you want to. If you want to stay where you are, you can, hold on to it. But where in your life do you see that you need to dust yourself off of those, the residue of those things, what has happened and how it has affected you? So when you take ownership of it, you take ownership of how it's still showing up for you. How is it affecting you? Not how is it affecting you now? And then you have to make a decision that taking ownership is not something that's going to, hey, Kim, thank you for coming. Um, Giving yourself permission to take ownership of something is a move that's powerful instead of something that's going to further beat you down because you experience life. So when you think about getting off the victim bus, then you can't blame everybody that's a part of your story as the reason as to why you are who you are, how you see yourself, where you are or are not in your life. You have to begin to look yourself in the mirror with grace, with compassion, with honesty, and say, well, did I do everything that I was supposed to do? Did I do everything I could do? Did I make choices because I felt like I would be excused because of what I went through? And now I'm in this. Now I'm going through this. Now I feel like this. Now this is continuing to happen. It's a hard pill, but a necessary pill to follow in order to dust that dust off of your life, to take off the pity, to take off the victimhood, and give yourself permission to have the cleanness that comes with ownership. We were talking earlier about, I saw the vision of my boys having to play football, and when they started it was raining, then the sun came out, they continued to play, and because they were playing in the wetness and the wet grass and the muddy grass, when the sun came out they still had the residue of what they played in. Well, again, taking ownership begins to peel off the residue of what you were playing in. But how many of you know mirror work is important? Exactly. How many of you know that it's easier to stay a victim to it? It's easier to stay comfortable with it. It's easier to blame everybody else as to why you're not where you want to be in life than it is to take ownership of your part in it, right? Let's look at it when it comes to unforgiveness. It's so easy for us to walk around holding a grudge with somebody, which that becomes dust on us, and blame them for where we are and why we feel the way we feel, why we respond, why we can't trust people. But I will say there comes a time when you have to want healing more than you want victimhood. You have to want freedom in your mind and in your emotions more so than you think you're paying somebody else back about that. So start to think, where in your life do you need to take the dust off, and do it now. Make it as important to you as it was to hold on to being a victim because of what happened to you. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you're supposed to just get up and, start being a cheerleader because you want to feel better and this has passed and you don't want to deal with it anymore. No, it's a state of mind. I became a victim to everything I went through: abandonment and rejection and hurt and disappointment and divorce for a long time. I became a victim to it because it was familiar to me. I knew how to be a victim. I knew how to have this woe is me conversation. That's it. You hurt yourself more than the other person. Absolutely. I knew how to be a victim. I knew that how to tell that same story over and over and over again. It had become on repeat in my own head because I hadn't dusted it off my life. It had become familiar to me. It was comfortable to me. I went through this. You did this to me. You hurt me like this. And because of that, I don't feel confident in myself. I don't feel, I don't have courage in myself because this happened to me. But as we are approaching another year, I want you to really begin to assess where you are. As you are assessing where you are and looking at changing your identity from being a victim to being an overcomer, you have to really be honest with yourself. You have to go back, like we talked about last time, go back and follow those breadcrumbs to understand why you are the way you are now. Follow those breadcrumbs to be honest, to say, this is where this started, but I still have the power to change it now, because you do. As you begin to transition your life and take your eyes and focus off of everyone else that's a part of your story, that you put all this value on, and focus on yourself and know that that's a good thing. That is self-full when you begin to focus on yourself and what do you need. What do you need now to step forward as this powerful woman? What do you need now to be able to write the book that has been on your heart for years? What do you need now in order for you to step forward and start that business? Go for those government contracts. Step forward as the speaker that you are meant to be, that you feel bubbling up in your belly. What do you need now? And as you are discovering what you need now, you have to discover, what do you need to let go of? What do you need to let go of? Remember, we talked about before that this transition is like an onion. It's peeling back layers. And as you begin to transition from one state of your life to the next state of your life, and you come to that place where these things are still coming up, and Kim said, that's good. Thank you. Where these things are still coming up, don't be discouraged and look at it as, well, I thought I was better. You are better, but you can still be greater, because now you are embracing what you have pushed away before. And it's not about anybody else. It's about you changing your identity. You're changing your identity that said you are defined by this, but now I'm defined by this because I'm coming into truth. Yes. I'm coming into truth and I'm taking ownership of that truth. My truth. This is my truth. I talked last week about how the internet is all ablaze because one woman decided to speak her truth. She decided she didn't care who listened, who believed her, who understood. This was about her story. And in telling her story, people became uncomfortable. People wanted to judge her. People wanted to put her down, but that still did not stop her from telling her truth, her story. So what is it going to take for you to be able to get up and change your posture and shake off the dust of the things that has silenced you before? Because now it's no one else's responsibility for you to be the woman that God created you to be. It's nobody else's responsibility to create, to decide, to design, to become, but yours. And as long as you hold on to the old stuff that caused you not to see yourself, you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to step up I know how that feels. I have given myself permission for many years to be silent because I was always told to be quiet, whether it was by the neighbor next door yelling out the window when I was singing and saying, Lynette, shut up. Or if it was my mom over speaking me and yelling at me and making me feel this small, or was it abandonment and rejection and, not feeling loved and all those things. I know how that feels. So every time I wanted to step forward and walk in my purpose and write another book and do another speech, I heard the voices inside of my head saying, shut up. You don't have anything to say. Nobody is listening to you. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And I believe those things. I took ownership of those things. But in order to change my life, in order to be here before you, even today, I had to choose to divorce that way of thinking, that belief system for myself. I had to decide that walking in my divine purpose was more valuable to me than holding on to the lies of the identity that I carried for most of my life. My identity is not in the deception of the mind that was created for me through abandonment and not feeling love. My identity is no longer in that state. And I am the one each day that does the work, that pushes forward to walk in my divine purpose, because that is where my greatness is. Where have you decided that your greatness is? Is your greatness still in who you used to be because of the experiences that you had? Or is your identity in, something? If you are not a believer in Christ, I'm not trying to make that be your belief. I'm just telling you, in order for me to step forward, that's where I had to find my identity. That's where I had to decide to look into in order to redefine me, so that when I'm giving a vision to speak, when I'm giving a word to share with you, that I don't allow that old image of myself to make me be quiet. Let me just pause for a second. Ask yourself, is it worth you continuing to live your life according to a broken, distorted vision of yourself, where you don't feel that you can even speak as bold as you want because you're still aligning yourself with that old image? Is it still worth it to you? But instead, take ownership of what you've chosen for yourself, what you did not know how to do, what you allowed to happen to you based on your coping mechanism because of that image that you had. Decide today, do you still want that to be your vision of yourself? Do you still want that to be your identity? If it's yes, then let it be yes. But if it's not, then you have some work to do. So sound the alarm for yourself. Dear me, I see you. I see you as someone who's still trying to understand herself. I see you trying. I see you believing in yourself and then feeling like you're getting knocked down again. I see you. Put your name in there. Dear me, Lynette, I see you. I see you. I love you. I'm proud of you. I know it hasn't been easy. I know I made you feel as if you had to go into a closet and hide yourself. Dear me, I see you. I know that I made you feel like you had to become a chameleon in order for people to love you, to see you, to want you, to value you. But you don't have to do that anymore. I'm here for you. I'm no longer divided from who I was as a child and who I'm meant to be now, because we are one. I don't have to make her go into hiding anymore because she's covered with the dust of my past. She's covered with the dust of the shattered glass that I looked into for my identity. We are one. And I want you to be able to see that for yourself. I see you, Kim. Amen. I see you. So today we're talking about the season has shifted. It's time to dust yourself off. It's time to clean yourself up. And one of the ways that you can begin to do that is through ownership. Own your stuff. Own it. As ugly as it is, as messed up as it is, as not being perfect or perfected as it is, own it. Own you. Own your personality. Own your quirks. Own your insecurities. Own the fears that come with it. Own the mistakes you made. Own the leaps and bounds that you made in your life. All of it comes together. You are the one who gets to decide how powerful it is for you. Do you need to dust it off, or do you need to put it on as a coat? And the problem sometimes with, thank you, Kim, every time you own it, you take back some power. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll leave you with this. One of the issues with holding on to things that make us feel like a victim is that we put it on as a coat and we wear it proudly. When you start shifting your identity, you have to change your coat, because that coat you've been wearing that silences you and keeps you from seeing yourself, that needs to become the dust that you shake off of you. Remember those little boys running down the football field playing in mud and rain, but when they came off the field, the sun had come out, but they were still wearing their same uniform. What are you still wearing after you've been playing in the mud of life? What is it that you're still wearing? And you may be still wearing it because you've chosen not to let go of it. You've chosen not to take it off. You're still wearing it as a coat when it has become dust. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Kim, for being here. I want to hear in the comments, even if you're watching this on the replay, let me know how this resonates with you. And remember that ownership is not about judgment. It's about honesty, self-honesty. It's about sounding the alarm to yourself that I am embracing what I need to embrace for this season so that I can step forward boldly, confidently, courageous as I am meant to for this season and the next season of my life. All right. I will see you guys here on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central for day 6. I'm so proud of myself. Dear me, I'm proud of you, girl. We are still here in this for the month of October. And I'm excited to be able to continue to share this message with you. So thank you, Kim. Thank you guys for being here. And I will see you on Wednesday for